But wait until you see what researchers have found hidden beneath the park to make sure those protesters stay exactly where they are on the outside here, not going inside the hotel. It's a reunion 16 years in the making. Boosters at the University of Miami are accused of providing players with everything from money to sex. Drivers will try and reclaim those cars tomorrow morning, but they will certainly have their work cut out for them. The search for Susan Powell slipped into a family feud today. So everyone concerned about these wildfires that are taking place across the state and across the country, but we are going through a stretch of weather here that we have not seen ever. The outpouring of emotion by everyone here in Seattle for Amanda Knox and her family is incredible. Lawmakers in the White House finally reached a tentative deal to solve the debt crisis. They placed him underneath this wheelbarrow to protect him from other animals. But when he came out the next morning to bury Scamp, they're demanding union benefits for hundreds of passenger service workers at the airport. It's amazing what 1 week will do. Last week, the Mariners offense exploding. This week, they can't get a hit to save their life. Clallam Bay Correction Center is still on lockdown tonight. Police in Whatcom County are now looking for a third suspect in a homicide in Linden. Many hikers and campers rely on cell phones to stay safe on Washington's trails, but when there's no signal, there's no help. But if you invest in a simple walkie-talkie like this one here, you'll have the ability to receive important information that could save your life. A day at the lake turns tragic. A 17-year-old drowns at a popular swimming hole in Pierce County. Tonight, questions linger. What exactly? A sad story indeed. Thank you, Lindsay. From the water to the forest and everywhere in between, it's important to remember the dangers that come with being outside during warm, sunny weather. Now, we found plenty of people outside in the hot sunshine today, including some youth soccer teams. The parents and their players made sure to stay well hydrated, and the kids told us they took frequent breaks after working up a sweat. So how much longer will this warm, dry weather last? Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell now joins us with the answer. Shannon. Outsiders verbally came to the rescue today for behind-the-scenes workers at SeaTac. They're demanding union benefits for hundreds of passenger service workers at the airport. KOMO 4's Tricia Manning-Smith met with one airport skycap who is struggling now to make ends meet. A Southwest flight was diverted after a passenger displayed suspicious behavior. Meanwhile, officials tell the Associated Press they do not think al-Qaeda has snuck anyone into the country to launch a terror attack, but they say they're still keeping everyone on high alert throughout the weekend. KOMO 4 viewers helped set a new record for donations at the Puyallup Food Bank. More than 160,000 pounds of food were collected yesterday during the first day at the fair food drive, which was way above last year's record of 90,000 pounds. And yesterday, everyone who brought non-perishable foods to the Puyallup Fairgrounds between 10 a.m. and noon got into the fair for free. One of Pennsylvania's largest fairs is set to open in just 2 weeks, but today the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds sat covered by floodwaters. The Susquehanna River is receding, but the damage is done after heavy rains left over from Tropical Storm Lee. More than 60,000 people who evacuated from the flood-prone Wyoming Valley are back home tonight, but there is still devastation waiting for thousands of homeowners across PA.
We estimate that will be taken down.
The Susquehanna crested at more than 42 feet in Wilkes-Barre, just inches below the top of the levee system. All right, let's check it back in with meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Of course, everyone concerned about these wildfires that are taking place across the state and across the country, but we are going through a stretch of weather here that we have not seen ever in September.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon.
Up next in sports, the Huskies get off to a quick start today against Hawaii, but would it last? Find out.
Plus Wazoo football. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
See you. Well, Dan and Mary, as you mentioned, the Occupy Seattle movement is in full effect right behind me. Take a look. This is just outside the Sheraton Hotel here in downtown Seattle at the corner of 6th and Union, and they are protesting. Public enemy number one for them right now is CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dixon. Take a look at some of the flyers that are being passed around right now by the protesters, and despite the cold temperatures and the rain, they say they are not going anyway. They want answers, and right now we are told by some protesters just passing by that they want to get inside to try and speak to Mr. Diamond to get some answers from him. The crowd has been forming here for quite a while right now. They made their way down here from Westlake Park, and they say they will be here throughout the entire evening as this protest continues with the Occupy Seattle movement. Live just outside the Sheraton, John Discepolo, KOMO 4 News. Absolutely, as you can imagine, the outpouring of emotion by everyone here in Seattle for Amanda Knox and her family is incredible. And we've noticed this by just taking a look at some signs like this one right here over my shoulder. Now, Amanda's father, Kurt Knox, arrived back home at his residence in West Seattle just after 6 p.m., where he immediately addressed the media. And while he's overjoyed to be back on U.S. soil, as you can imagine, he's staying very tight-lipped about his daughter's whereabouts.
The focus simply is Amanda's well-being.
After making his way down his street, Kurt Knox says he's happy to be back home. ready to begin a new chapter in his life with his family. But while he understands the media attention surrounding his daughter, he was quick to dismiss any financial gain from the ordeal.
When we were in Italy, there was rumors flying all over. There's, the private plane back, the $1 million contract. No, none of that stuff is going on.
What is going on is protecting Amanda's privacy. He won't say where she is or when she'll speak. And as a father, his biggest concern is her mental state of mind moving forward.
What's the trauma that's associated to this, and when will it show up, if it even shows up? I mean, she's a very strong girl, but, it's been a tough time for her.
Kurt says the focus tonight for Amanda will be all about reconnecting with family and close friends and remembering the life she almost lost.
Some of the simplest things like, laying down in some grass. She's been in a concrete and steel prison for 4 years, and the simplest things that we take for granted she hasn't had.
Kurt says today is the best day of his life. His daughter is back in Seattle, right where she belongs. Now, Kurt says at some point in the future, Amanda will talk. But for right now, the family is asking the community to give her space, as are we here at Como 4. That's why we're not outside her house. So if Amanda wants to go home, she can. So she can try and rebuild her life and hopefully regain those years that have gone by so quickly. Washington State Patrol tells me they have 2 search teams right now from both Snohomish and Chelan County, moving as fast as they can to try and locate State Trooper Dan Anderson, even launching an aerial search here from Darrington Airport to help out. And while it may be the middle of May, the weather, and in particular the snow, is creating problems.
Yep.
For Zachariah Taylor and Gus DeRosa, hiking into the Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest at this time of year isn't about adventure or connecting with Mother Nature. It's about trying to locate a family friend.
He's been there for me when I needed him when I was overseas, somebody to talk to and basically get advice from. And I owe him this much. Washington State Patrol Trooper Daniel Anderson has been on the force for over 20 years and developed a close bond with these 2 brothers. Anderson served as an Arlington City councilman for 6 years. He's currently a motorcycle trooper with a strong military and hiking background.
He's got Army, Special Forces background. This is well planned. In fact, he talked about it several months ago that he was going to go on this trip.
Officials say Anderson was hiking in the North Cascades Mountains at an elevation above 5,000 feet when they received a call that an emergency distress signal was sent out by him early Sunday evening. Teams from 2 counties as well as a chopper search began today after learning that Anderson had snowshoed with some friends from the Granite Falls area, but at last check was heading out on his own.
If you're up as high as Dan probably is, then you're probably going to be cold for a long time.
The helicopter actually flew up Miners Creek, and on a map there's this little lake/pond in that area, and they said they did observe some tracks on the way following that creek into a wooded areas where they lost the tracks. The good thing about it, from what the searchers are telling me, was some of the tracks were in good condition that indicated he may be on the move.
Washington State Patrol tells me they will attempt another chopper search tomorrow and hope the weather will cooperate. For 6-year-old twins Chevelle and Caden Woods, drawing pictures is much more than just colors and shapes. And lately, it's who they draw, not what they draw, that has them both smiling.
A dog.
But the colors that surround their world turned dark 10 days ago when they lost their newest family member.
I was talking and not paying attention. He got outside the fence. And then the next thing I know, I heard a car.
The family's 8.5-month-old Yorkshire Terrier Shih Tzu mix named Scamp was hit by a car.
I figured he was gone. I figured he had passed away.
Paul and his wife had to tell their grandkids.
It was real sad to watch them crying over their dog and drawing pictures, and we're trying not to cry, and it was just sad.
Paul initially wrapped Scamp up in a blanket and brought him outside, where he placed him underneath this wheelbarrow to protect him from other animals. But when he came out the next morning to bury Scamp, what he found underneath shocked him.
Oh my gosh.
Scamp was sitting up, a bit dazed and confused, but alive. The family immediately rushed him to the vet and wondered how a dog, after being hit by a car, could survive in such frigid conditions.
It would have slowed down all of his body functions and made his brain to where it didn't swell. That's what the vet said. That's what saved his life.
He looks great.
Christmas is about the kids. It's about miracles. It's about hope. As long as family is together, and Scamp's part of our family.
Making this a Christmas story these kids will treasure for a lifetime. In Yelm, John Discepolo, Como 4 News. The search for Susan Powell slipped into a family feud today. Her father and father-in-law go toe-to-toe as cameras were rolling. Then her husband, Josh Powell, made a stand. Como 4's Joel Marino watched it all unfold. He joins us live. Joel, this must have been a totally surreal experience. Police are investigating a deadly shooting outside a Kent apartment. It happened around 10 o'clock last night at the Somerset apartment complex. Officers say the 28-year-old victim was shot once and pronounced dead at the scene. Police don't think this was a random act or gang-related. A body found along Lake Washington this morning is said to be that of a missing watercraft rider. A man spotted the body as he was walking his dog near Lake Washington Boulevard South. Police say foul play is not suspected and an autopsy will take place next week. Investigators believe the body is that of a man who fell off a wave runner on Wednesday and drowned. A 15-mile stretch of Highway 2 that had been closed due to a wildfire is back open tonight, but crews are still warning drivers to be extra careful. The Tumwater Canyon fire has burned about 200 acres near Leavenworth and is only about 25% contained right now. Fire crews say drivers along Highway 2 can see smoke and flames as they pass by. Union members were stationed outside local Fred Meyer's stores today. The Teamster Union members were handing out leaflets. The companies and the union workers at its Puyallup distribution center have failed to reach a new contract agreement. The two sides are fighting over health benefits right now. Fred Meyer says it wants the workers to stay on the company plan where they pay a premium. The Teamsters Union does not have one. Family, friends, and complete strangers paid tribute to a pregnant mom hit and killed during a leisurely run. The Lisa Palmer Memorial Run kicked off this morning in Puyallup. Palmer was nearly 8 months pregnant when she went for a jog back in May in Chelan and was hit by a car. Investigators say that driver fell asleep at the wheel. Both Palmer and her baby died.
Lisa loved the Lord in her honor.
Today's run raised money for Palmer's husband and their 2 young sons. Family and friends will continue raising money. If you'd like to find out more information about this story, just head to our website, comonews.com. The situation in Libya may be reaching a breaking point. 3 people are dead and 1 more is missing following a series of flash floods in the Northeast. The worst damage came in Pittsburgh last night, where water reached as high as 9 feet in some places. A mother and daughter died after getting trapped in their car. The water has gone back down tonight, but there are still plenty of piles of mud and debris along neighborhood roads. Well, it's a reunion 16 years in the making.
Hey, how are you?
That is Seattle police officer John Abraham meeting with Annie Rose Cruikshank today for the first time. Now, 16 years ago, Officer Abram helped escort Annie's parents to the hospital for her birth. Annie has seen a picture of Abram before, but says it's great to finally meet the man in person that made that special day happen. All right, Shannon O'Donnell is here now. Time to talk weather. And I got to be honest, you know, a lot of us wanted to have the heat cranked up a little bit today. The first real day that it felt like it was warm outside and you needed to put the AC on a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely went.
Time now for sports. Chris Miller is here, and it's amazing what 1 week will do. Last week, the Mariners offense exploding. This week, they can't get a hit to save their life.
I know, crazy. Up here, we're talking.
Of course, a lot of football fans around here are getting anxious for you. Dubs, September 3rd, they kick off against the Eagles of Eastern Washington. I know I am looking forward to that day.
And the Seahawks tonight, 7 o'clock.
Highlights at 11.
Yes.
All right, Chris, thanks very much. We'll be right back.